The Insured Zone. The Insured Zone with Bet Insured.
With just 2 games left in the English Premier League, and I tell you sincerely, the battle for the top 4 is getting even more gripping, and Newcastle were the only team to get a win against a fellow contestant, of course, for that position. Talking about Chelsea, and Arsenal came from 2 goals down to draw against the champions 2-2. I tell you sincerely, it is getting even more interesting. There's still a lot to play for. Welcome to another interesting episode of the Insured Zone podcast, brought to you by Bet Insured, the most reliable and of course the biggest sport prediction platform in the world. I am FM Karik, and I have with me, of course, Kaka in the building. Kaka, how are you doing?
Fantastic and wonderful. How are you doing?
Of course, great. But then, Kaka, looking at this season, it's just 2 games remaining, and from second to almost 5th, it is a battle to finish between them.
Yeah, this time it's probably the best for top 5.
Of course,
considering the fact that about 5 teams, and if possible, 6. Definitely, it will probably represent England. So right now it's about for top 5, and Newcastle, and I think Aston Villa as well. If you look closely, Aston Villa has a chance as well of if results go their way and they get results as well. So let's see how it pans out at the end of the day.
Of course, let's see how it pans out at the end of the day, guys. Right about now, let's go straight to our result from last weekend, and let's see how our prediction has done well. Yes, guys, welcome back. Of course, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and also put on the notification button to get interesting content from us whenever they drop. And without wasting time, let's go straight into business for this weekend. The first game we'll be talking about is a very important game, of course, happening live at the Emirates Stadium this weekend. I tell you sincerely, Arsenal will be hosting Newcastle United. Yes, a big game. It is Newcastle just 2 points behind Arsenal. Arsenal with 68 points and Newcastle with 66. Kaka, this is a tough game for Mikel Arteta. A winner will definitely keep him in that position, but then anything other than that, Newcastle are right behind him.
Yeah, exactly. Newcastle, I think the win against Chelsea was important.
Very.
It was important for them. Even if they eventually, I think they should be able to get a result from this one. On the other hand, Arsenal, I think the 1 point they got at Anfield last week as well was very. It was
a really tough battle.
On the other hand, you can say probably results went their way against Manchester. With Manchester City, playing a goalless draw
against the Southampton,
relegated Southampton side. So you could say at the end of the day, I think their last match of the season, no disrespect to Southampton whatsoever, but their last match of the season is against Southampton. You'd probably fancy them to get a result, probably 3 points.
Definitely.
So coming into this one against Newcastle, it's never an easy game for them. I think they struggled a lot against Newcastle this season. So I think Newcastle get the result in this one. I'd probably fancy Newcastle in this one.
Of course, probably fancy Newcastle in this one. Newcastle definitely a very tough opposition. But then, guys, let's check out our prediction for this game between Arsenal and Newcastle United. And straight to the next one, another interesting game, a game to look out for. One of the teams that really did well this season, talking about Brighton. Brighton will be at home to play against the champions, Liverpool. Brighton versus Liverpool, of course, another one. Liverpool not really putting in the effort they had from the start of the season because they are already wearing the crown. But then against Brighton, Brighton, who are also looking for a place in Europe, or probably qualify for the Champions League, or then the Europa League, as if the worst come to us.
Yeah, you think the Champions League is far-fetched at this point for Brighton and Wolverhampton. But yeah, kudos to them. The manager came in and he's done pretty well. And if they get results in their last 2 matches, they'll probably get a place in the UEFA Europa League, which is a good thing.
Of course, definitely.
For a club like Brighton, it's a good thing for them. Against Liverpool, like you said, Liverpool are not putting in the effort. I saw them against Arsenal last week, and there were 2 goals of it. If Liverpool were on a good day,
and they were complacent.
Yeah, they were complacent. And if Liverpool on a good day, they were fighting for the league.
Definitely,
you
definitely will get
you definitely get the 3 points. But I think after the match against Arsenal, they traveled to Dubai.
Of course.
So that tells you how much of just enjoy the moments for it is for Liverpool. So probably Liverpool turn up to this one drunk
also.
You think Brighton having something to fight for, you probably fancy them to get the results in this one.
Of course, Brighton definitely might probably get something from this one. Guys, let's check the prediction for the game between Brighton and Liverpool. Another big game, definitely, but this season so far, judging by the performance of one of the teams, it's not really a big game. At the Stamford Bridge, definitely Chelsea will be hosting Manchester United. United have been losing week in, week out in the English Premier League, but then getting their consolation from the Europa League. Kaka, a visit to the Stamford Bridge for Ruben Amorim and his boys. Will this be another loss in the bag for the team?
Yes.
Definitely. Straight answer.
Yeah. You look at the circumstances surrounding the match. Manchester United, in the next 3-4 days, they have a final to play against Tottenham Hotspur in the Europa League final. You'd think a sensible coach would probably give resting time for his key players for that match. And Chelsea, on the other hand, results went in their favor last week. With Leicester holding Nottingham Forest,
but then they lost to Newcastle.
They did lose to Newcastle and Manchester City as well. If they get the 3 points, they catapult them to 4th, and they would. It's in their hands. In the last game of the season to get the result as well. So you're coming into this one. It is as big as this for Chelsea, to get
all 3 points.
All 3 points and to keep their hopes alive for the UEFA Champions League. Manchester United on the other hand, I think their season is more or less over in the Premier League.
Definitely.
So their focus right now is to win the Europa League. If they don't win the Europa League, I don't want to imagine the kind of season this would be for Manchester United and their fans. So coming into this one, it's supposed to be one of the big games of the season at this point, but it is what it is. It is what it is at this point. And Manchester United has been, I don't know the words to use.
Yes, absolutely abysmal.
It has been a terrible season for them in the Premier League. So you're coming to Stamford Bridge. I think the last time they came, it was a firework with Chelsea winning the last minute, the 101st minute there. So yeah, I think Chelsea gets the 3 points in this one. I don't see any other result.
Of course, Chelsea expected to get all 3 points against Manchester United in this game. Guys, let's check out our prediction for this game between Chelsea and Manchester United. And then, guys, away from the English Premier League, this is a big one, definitely the FA Cup final between Crystal Palace and Manchester City happening at the Wembley Stadium. Of course, who will wear the crown of Pep Guardiola have a chance to definitely win a silverware. It would have been a disaster for a manager who hasn't gone a season without winning something to definitely go without winning something. Will Pep Guardiola continue his record of winning a trophy every season, or will Crystal Palace be a thorn in the flesh for Pep Guardiola?
You'd fancy Manchester City
definitely
on paper, but this is the final. When it comes to the final, prediction most of the times are always useless when it comes to the final match. You look at Crystal Palace on the other hand, they've been a thorn in the flesh of a lot of teams this season. They've been good. They've been solid.
Of course.
You look at the semi-final, how they dismantled Aston Villa unexpectedly. Unexpectedly.
A lot of people actually fancy that.
Exactly. Exactly. But like I said, this is the FA Cup, and this is a one-time match.
Of course.
You look at Crystal Palace on the other hand. It is a chance for them to go to Europe as well.
Of course.
If they win if they win the FA Cup, they are going to Europa.
The Europa League.
And so you'd think the players would be up for this one. So yeah, it might swing either way, but with Manchester City, probably a setback against Southampton. Yeah. But I think they found their groove for this period, and yeah, you think Manchester City go on to win this one, and they have the experience when it comes to final. You'd fancy Manchester City to win this one at the end.
Of course, so with the experience from the Champions League win, the FA Cup, the Carabao, they've won virtually everything.
And the past season. With the Syria manager, like Guardiola, you think they get the job done.
Of course, you think they get the job done. Talking about Manchester City, guys, let's check our prediction for this final game between Crystal Palace and Manchester City. Now, guys, let's check the rest of the picks from the English Premier League. Of course, like I said, a lot is still going down. 2 more games in the league, but then there's still a lot to play for. Let's check our predictions for the rest of the games. Now, guys, to the bonus pick, of course, from the Italian Serie A. The Serie A is really getting down. Also, it might probably get down to the last day before we eventually see the champion. Let's see our prediction on the bonus pick from the Italian Serie A. Guys, welcome back. Of course, it's still the Ensure Zone podcast brought to you by Bet Ensured. And now straight to our 20-odd weekend banker, of course, on 1xBet, especially created by our expert. Let's check it out. Yes, guys, before we see our buys on the podcast this weekend, definitely, Kaka, I have a question for you. The English Premier League 2024-2025 season, I want you to name your 3 top strikers, not only judging by the number of goals they scored, but then their general performance and their impact for their club sides. Who would you rank in your top 3 of the strikers in the EPL?
This season, I think the strikers generally this season, I think they've turned up this season. I mean, I don't know what you mean by not their goals. I think everybody judges strikers by their number of goals in as much as you put in the goals. I think it doesn't matter your run play at the end of the day. I think I'll go Delap first. I'm bored.
Delap in third?
Yeah, Delap in third.
Okay.
unfortunately, his goals were not enough to put Ipswich on top at the end of the day.
But then for a player that has a new experience before coming and he led the line well.
This is fourth season being this thing. Because of his input, he's been scouted by a lot of
course.
teams.
He might probably still return in the Premier League.
Yeah, definitely. You think teams like Manchester United, Chelsea that needs a target man would probably want a signature come the end of the season. And in second position, I'll go Chris Wood for Nottingham Forest. I think his goal last week made it 100 goals
in the EPL.
In his EPL career. I mean, that is fantastic. And I think he has about 20 goals.
20 goals, yes. Yeah, 20 goals this season.
Look, you look at Nottingham Forest punching above their weight this season. I think they finished 17th last week. Last season. And they're fighting for a spot in Europe this season. I mean, he's
currently in 60th position.
Exactly, his goals has been key. In top position, it has to be Johan Wissa.
Wow.
Yeah. It has to be Johan Wissa.
Fantastic.
I mean, for a player of his size, and when they lost Ivan Toney, you think they struggle to get the goals. And look at them as well. They get the results in the remaining games. I think they get Europe as well. But yeah, kudos to Johan Wissa. I mean, yeah, so that would be my top three.
Wow, fantastic pick, but then I have a different opinion from the third position. I think I would have to agree with you on one thing. With all due respect to Chris Wood, I feel Chris Wood has a lot of experience. He has been in the Premier League before now. But then Liam Delap, a boy who just came in his first season, leading the line, scored 12 goals for his side, and then he's on the lips of every manager in the EPL. I think he would have my third position for me. And in second position, I would have to give it to Alexander Isak, the Newcastle man. Fantastic player, any day, anytime. Talk about the positioning, talk about the pace, the dribbling skills. Everything he has, everything is a complete player, and that definitely will be in my second position. And definitely my first position will be Erling Braut Haaland. Haaland, to me, the injury actually halted his input definitely this season. If not for the injury, he is someone who will really, really go down with Mo Salah. They would have dragged it all till the end. So I think I like your pick.
The reason I would definitely not agree with you so much is because it's not that I couldn't pick Erling Haaland, Isak of this world. I think they have the players around them. I think that is why I went for, not so much players that
have the quality of supply. And
exactly. If Eliana, if he doesn't have, I think for me, if he doesn't have the supplies, he doesn't get the goals.
But then,
that's why I love them, Isak and Johan Wissa of this world. And you relatively look at the teams as well. You look at the teams
they play for.
You expect them to get the goals because of the quality of players around them.
Yes,
but you look at Johan Wissa, you look at Chris Wood, on par with the likes of De Bruyne, Bruno Guimaraes behind Isak, and all of these quality players. I think this season, I think I'll give
I understand where you're coming from, but then I think why do these clubs go for these players in the first place? Talking about Haaland, talking about his sides because of quality. I believe they already knew these guys have the quality to deliver at the top stage, and definitely they went for them and they have been delivering. So it's not their fault they are playing for a big team that have quality behind them. It's because they have the ability to deliver and they have been delivering. Of course, guys, this is where we'll be drawing the curtain on the podcast for this weekend. It's been an interesting one. And of course, do well to join us next the episode. And also make sure you like, share, subscribe, and also put on the notification button to get more interesting content from us. And of course, don't forget to log on to www.betensure.com. Also subscribe to one of our plans and get interesting attention from our experts. My name is FM Karika, and I want to say a big thank you to Kaka.
Thanks for having me as always. My pleasure.
Remember, guys, on the Ensure Zone podcast, we don't just predict the future, we ensure it. Bye for now.